Hello, I am Samarth and I'm back with another video on my YouTube channel, and in this video we are going to learn about implementing full text search in cloud-firestore. So as of now, what you can do is make queries on your Firestore data based on the value of certain fields. But what it does is that it matches the value of the field exactly as it is. So if you're looking for an exact match, it's going to work for you. But if you are looking for something more like a search, or more appropriately I should put it, if you are looking for text-based searches, then it is not going to work for you. Firestore does not support that as of now. But what Firestore does is that it recommends to use something like Elasticsearch or Algolia. And in this video we are going to learn how to use Algolia with cloud-firestore to implement full text searches in your application. Just for the sake of this video, we'll be using an Ionic application to implement all that search functionality. But the concepts are pretty much the same. All you need to do is just use the SDKs provided by Algolia and you are good to go. So as you can see that I have a collection here, and the name of the collection is Steam for some reason. Basically it just contains some documents, and each of these documents contains 4 fields. The field names are title, user ID, ID and body. 2 of these fields are numeric while the remaining 2 are text or strings. As you can see that the title here represents something that the user will never be able to type exactly as we have here in the cloud store data. In order to make the user be able to search within these fields, we need to implement full text search, and we are going to use Algolia for that. But to use Algolia, all this data first needs to be provided to Algolia. Okay? If you have the data in your cloud-firestore, you can easily write a function to move all that data to Algolia, and then Algolia can do the rest of the magic. So first off, in this video we are going to write a function that will move all our existing documents from a collection to an index in Algolia. Okay, and then in the second part of the video we are going to write the code for our Ionic application implementing the search functionality. So you can just go ahead and sign up for a free account with Algolia. You can try it out for 14 days for free. So just go ahead and sign up for an account. And once you have signed up, just go to indices and get rid of any indices if you already have. So I'll just go ahead and delete this one. Indices are very similar to what collections are in Firestore. So all the related data is stored inside an index. Okay, so now that we have deleted the index, we are ready to create a new one with the data from cloud-firestore. There is an API keys section as well, which contains the required credentials. You'll need all these keys when you will be connecting to Algolia using your Firebase function. So I'll start by creating a new Firebase project. So I'll just log into Firebase first using the Firebase CLI, and once I have logged in, I'll just go ahead and create a new Firebase project with the functions feature. So all I want to use in this project is Firebase functions. So I'll just log in, and then I'll create a new folder called Firebase Algolia server, and inside it I'll initialize a new Firebase project with just Firebase functions. So I'll just go ahead and type in Firebase init functions. Now I'll have to select a Firebase project that I want to use. So I'll just go ahead and select my first app, which is the same project that we just had a look in the console. And now it is just going to ask us a few questions, and in just a few moments the Firebase project is created. Let's open it in Visual Studio Code and have a look at all the files and folder. So we have a folder called functions which contains the code for our Firebase functions. In the index.js file we'll be writing all our code. So you can see that we already have an import for Firebase functions module. So we'll add a few more imports here. The second import that I'm going to add here is Firebase admin. Okay, and the next one that I'm going to add is Algolia search. Okay, so Algolia search is a module that we'll be installing. We'll install that in just a few moments. But before that, we will also initialize constants for our Algolia app ID, Algolia admin ID and Algolia index name. Okay, so the name of the index is going to be users. You can use whatever you want it is just like you name a collection in Firestore. So I'm just going to call it users, and for app ID and admin key, you can refer the API keys section in your Algolia dashboard. So just go ahead and copy those keys from there and paste them right here. Once you have done that, you need to initialize the Firebase admin SDK. Next, we'll just create a function. This will be an HTTP based function, so it can be triggered using a URL. And the name of the function is going to be add Firestore data to Algolia. Inside this function, the first thing we'll do is retrieve all the data from my collections team and then insert that data in an array that I'll send later to Algolia. So I'll just retrieve all the data from my team collection, and in the promise I'll get all the documents from this collection. And then for each document, I'm just going to get the data from this document. And one more requirement that Algolia has is that every object needs to have a key called object ID. You need to have the key exactly as I have here. So the O for object ID needs to be lowercase, while the alphabets I and D need to be uppercase. And generally, when you are using Algolia with Firestore, you might want to use the document ID as the object ID for Algolia. So I'll just insert the object ID key. If you do not insert the object ID key in the user data, Algolia will create random object IDs for you. So it's better that you use the Firestore document IDs as object IDs for Algolia. Once you have the user object ready, we'll push that in an array, and let's just define this array as well. So I'll just define it as a blank array on the top. And once we have all the objects inside this array, I'll just write the code to send this data to Algolia. So I'll initialize a client object first using the Algolia search module, which takes the app ID and the admin key as parameters, and then I'll create a reference to my index. So I'll use client.initIndex function, and it takes the name of the index as a parameter. In our case, the name of the index is users. Finally, I'll just call the saveObjects function on the index object. The saveObjects function takes the array and saves that array inside the Algolia index. Inside the callback, you'll get all the content saved as a response. So I'll just return that response as the response of the HTTP function as well. All we need to do now is install Algolia search module, and we also need to save that information to our package.json file. So all I have to do is just type in npm install Algolia search -- save. This will install the Algolia search module and will also save that information to our package.json file. Once installed, we are ready to deploy this Firebase function to Firebase. So I'll just run the command firebase deploy -- only functions. This will deploy the Firebase functions only to Firebase. Once done, you'll get a URL that you can use to call this function from your browser. So I'll just copy this URL from here, paste that in the browser, and you are good to go. The function will be executed and all the data from your Firebase Cloud Store will be saved to your Algolia index. And if you are on the Spark plan on Firebase, then you might not get anything in the browser, and that is because Firebase does not allow external API requests on the Spark plan. So you might want to upgrade your plan, and once you have upgraded your plan, you need to execute this function once again, and you will see all the data from your cloud-firestore in your Algolia index. So it might look something like this. You can see that I have all the data inside my Algolia index called users. So now that I have all my data on Algolia, I can implement search functionalities in an app. So for now, I'm going to use an Ionic app. The name of the application that I'm going to use is Firebase Algolia. So I'll just open the app in Visual Studio Code real quick. And I'll go to my page and I'll import the Algolia search module. To get rid of this error, I'll have to install the Algolia search module, just as we did in the Firebase project. I'll define a few objects here. The first one will be the client, and I'll also define Algolia app ID and Algolia API key. Okay, these two keys will be required when you want to connect to your Algolia index from your application. Then I'll initialize the client using Algolia search and then pass in the app ID and the API key. The third parameter into this function that I'll pass is a JSON object with the key protocol and the value HTTPS:. This is required specifically for applications running on localhost. I'll also define a new object called index, and this will hold the reference to our index. So I'll just type in this.index is equals to this.client.initIndex and then pass in the name of the index. Again, the code so far is very similar to what we have done in the Firebase function, except that the API key we are going to pass in on the client code is the search only key, while on the server code it was the admin key. Now we need a variable that we want to use to perform our searches, so I'll just go ahead and create a new string variable called search query. We'll later bind it to an input field in our HTML page. And now to perform the search, all I need to do is just use the search function, which takes a JSON object for some configuration as a parameter. So I'll just go ahead and type in this.index.search, and the JSON object which I have to pass in here contains a property called query, and this property contains the value of the text that you want to perform your searches based on. Let's just go ahead and pass in this.search query here, and in the promise you'll get some data. You can log the data to console, but I know that the actual array of data is data.hits. So you can use data.hits and assign it to an array in your code. So I'll just create an array called users and assign data.hits to this.users. I'll use the users array to display data as an ion list in my HTML page. So I'll just go ahead and create an ion list real quick. I'll also change the page title to Firebase Algolia, and I'll also create a search bar in my ion header. So the search bar will look something like this. I have assigned an ng model. It is equal to search query. The debounce value of 750 means that when the user types in, the search function will automatically be triggered after 750 milliseconds. Now all we need to do is use the ion input event and bind it to a function so that a search is automatically initiated as the user types. So I'll just create a function called search, and I'll have to create that function in my TS file as well. So I'll just create a function right here, and I'll move all that search code from my constructor to this function. So that's it. Let's see how this works in the browser. So I'll just go ahead and type in Ionic serve, and this will launch the application in the browser. Make sure that you have defined your app ID and your API key before you run the application. So now you can see that the search field is there, and what I can do is just go ahead and start typing in the search field, and the results will show up on the page. So as you can see, as I type, the matching results are displayed on the page in the ion list. So you can see that the search is pretty fast. It almost looks like that we are searching in real time. So go ahead and try it out. I hope that Algolia can be an answer to a lot of questions that Firebase developers have in their mind. One more thing that I would like to mention is that as your data updates on cloud-firestore, you need to make sure that the data is also updated on your Algolia index, so that as new documents are created or older documents are updated or deleted, the changes are automatically reflected on Algolia. So you need to write that code. Let me know if you want to learn how to do that. Maybe I'll create another video on that topic, but that's another story. So for now, this was it. I hope that you liked this video. Let me know in the comments if you like this video, and as always, thanks for watching.